Hi, my name's Dave Morris. Thanks for joining me as we talk about athletic scholarships and how understanding athletic aid can really help you make the most of your college search. Understanding a few rules about colleges and how colleges talk about price. The first rule is that the college's own publicized top-line tuition number is usually meaningless. That number that's on their website or in their literature or on some other website as the college's cost is influenced by a couple of factors, like the college wanting to make sure that they're expensive enough that people don't think, oh, this college must not be as good as another school that costs more. Also, you want to have a tuition that's pretty high so that you can discount it because people want a discount. It's not really relevant if you're trying to figure out what it's going to cost you to go to school. The second rule is to understand what money you're bringing to the school. The school is going to offer you discounts, and in return, you're going to bring money. Some of that money is actually cash. Some of the money is loans. Some of the other money can be federal or state or scholarship aid from outside entities that's actually, while it looks like a loan or a grant or some kind of financial aid to you, to the college, it's actually cash. The third really important rule when it comes to scholarships and athletic scholarships is that an academic scholarship dollar is just as valuable as an athletic scholarship dollar. Many schools, particularly in the NAIA and in Division II, are priced based on the idea that many student athletes and their families are willing to pay more money to take an athletic scholarship than they are to go to a school that only offers an academic scholarship. So in essence, families and students are paying more to take an athletic scholarship than they would otherwise to take just an academic scholarship at another institution. That's an inefficiency in the market that you need to be aware of. The fourth rule is to know what the rules for the aid that you get are. Some scholarships are only for freshman year and they drop off. Some scholarships get bigger every year. Some scholarships require you to keep a certain GPA. Athletic scholarships are generally what's called 1 year renewable, and most coaches are pretty transparent about what that really means at that institution. In my experience, about 90% of the time, scholarships get renewed barring some pretty serious misbehavior. But there are schools, there are coaches who think it's okay to sort of look at aid every year, and they say, well, you know, we might bump you up, we might bump you down. And I think it's important to understand that if the coach is sort of reevaluating aid every year, that's generally not good for continuing students. There's a lot of pressure that a coach can bring on a student to say, hey, I know you had a great year, but we really need some more funding to bring in some new players. Can you contribute here? And that's just a tough deal. So you want to know, like, what are the renewal rules? In Division One, particularly now, there's 4-year scholarships where they're guaranteed for 4 years or 5 years, as long as you're eligible. There's scholarships where they say, we're going to cover it after your eligibility runs out. If you haven't graduated, you keep your scholarship until you actually graduate. Those are things that you really want to find out about ahead of time because the devil's in the details a lot of times with these things. And you just want to know what are the parameters and are you comfortable with them before you accept an offer. Finally, I always tell people everybody's gone to the store and they saw that really fancy pair of shoes and it's a $500 pair of shoes and they're on sale for 20 bucks, but they're a size too small. And if you're like me, some point in your life, you said, you know what, I'm going to make this work, and you spent the 20 bucks. And unfortunately, the shoe doesn't fit. And in the end, you've spent $20 on something you can't use. So cheap, just because it's cheap, cheap isn't value. And just because it's expensive doesn't mean that it's actually a valuable commodity. Colleges understand that sticker price is related to a perception of quality, and there's schools that say they cost $80,000 a year that discount 75% of tuition, and there's schools that are at $60,000 a year that discount 50% of tuition, and those numbers are fairly similar in the end. And then there's some schools that actually get fairly close to sticker price. And once again, none of that's valuable if it's not the right fit for you. Let's talk about how you pay for college. The pot of money that's the most concern to most families from the college's standpoint is called what you're bringing, money that you bring to the college that you're going to pay. And that basically comes in two large pots. The first one is your money. Maybe you and your parents have been saving in a college fund since you were a baby, so you have a pot of college money in a 529 account or a bank account, something where you're just going to pay. The second one is grants, loans, and within that, there's federal, state grant programs. Pell Grants are the most common. If you have not done FAFSA, you're allowed to start doing that, I believe, your junior year now, and that's the federal program, and that they'll tell you fairly quickly, based on your family income, what subsidy you can get from the government. It's a fairly generous program. Many people qualify for some amount of money. If your estimated family contribution, if the government says, look, you can't afford $7,000 a year, you qualify for some level of federal aid, direct aid, like a grant, which is money that you don't have to pay back. If you don't qualify for a grant, like a Pell Grant or a state grant or something like that, most likely you qualify for student loans. There's two federal student loan programs, subsidized student loans and unsubsidized for students. The subsidized student loan means that the federal government pays the interest on your loan while you're still in school. So when you graduate, if you borrow $15,000 while you're in school, the day you graduate, you owe $15,000, even though you've had some of that money for 3 or 4 years because you started borrowing it when you were a freshman. So the government's actually paying the interest on the loan. That's still a pretty good deal. Student loans, because of the difficulty in terms of discharging them, you need to be aware of how much you're borrowing. If you're going to grow up and be a teacher and you're looking at making, $40,000 or $50,000 a year, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to owe $200,000 for your college education. You need to look at that. The subsidized loans generally are a pretty good deal, and the government limits how much you get every year of subsidized loans. They also limit how many federal unsubsidized loan dollars you qualify for. Unsubsidized means that you start paying interest. You don't have to pay the loan back till you graduate, but you are responsible for the interest until you graduate. Now you can fold that into future loans, but you're on the hook for, whatever, $10, $15, $20 a month of interest on the money that you're borrowing while you're in school. At the bottom of this, where it says plus and personal loans, if you go to a college and the college says, hey, you're going to need to spend $20,000 a year, and you qualify for a Pell Grant, that's about $7,000 a year now. There's another $7,000 in loans, and then there's another $6,000 that if you don't have cash, you could borrow or your parents could borrow. When parents borrow, that's a plus loan, and that is federally facilitated through a bank, but you need to be very careful and aware of the interest rate. And then there's also personal loans. In my opinion, if you're taking out a personal loan, that's like a credit card loan to pay for college, you need to be very, very skeptical of whether that's really a good idea. And then on the back end, what are colleges going to discount to get your money? On that, colleges offer academic awards, they offer institutional scholarships, athletic scholarships or grants and aid, and then all kinds of other scholarships, discounts, things like that. That's money the college writes off. So they say, look, it costs $60,000 a year to come here. You're qualified for $14,000 in grants and loans, subsidized and unsubsidized loans. We're going to charge you, $60,000 a year. You've got $12,000 in aid, and we're going to write off. We're going to give you an academic scholarship for $30,000, an athletic scholarship for $10,000, and then whatever is left, that's the money that you've got to figure out how to come up with, or a plus loan, personal loan, and that's where the negotiation really happens. So to sum up what we're talking about, when you look at college, there's an out-of-pocket cost, and it's a fairly complicated little formula we've got on the screen for you. Out-of-pocket cost is the tuition plus room plus board plus books plus fees minus whatever scholarships, minus whatever government grants, aids, outside scholarships that you're bringing. What is the college making from you? I think it's really important to understand what you're bringing to the college, not just the cash you're handing them, but also the total amount of loan money that you're bringing, any sort of federal and state grant money, outside scholarships, because those are checks that the college is going to cash 10 days after you enroll, and that's a valuable thing. Most importantly, it's really critical to look at a college and look at the discount that they're offering you, because sometimes a college will say, listen, we'll take you, we'll accept you, but really we're not going to do much to enable you to come here. If you want to pay full price, you can. If it's the right fit from the school standpoint, and I think that's worth paying attention to, they will do things to make college really affordable. And you need to look at schools that make the cost very affordable for you, because those are colleges that really value your attendance. And the top line number, if it's a $60,000 a year school and they give you $30,000 in scholarships, you're still paying $30,000 a year. If I'm selling, a Honda Civic and I decide, hey, the sticker price is $60,000, well, the Civic's only worth about, what, $18,000? So I go, okay, I'm going to give you a $32,000 discount on the $60,000 car. That's you're still paying too much. So you do need to be aware that those big discount numbers really don't mean anything unless it makes the college a good value for you. Thank you for sharing your time today looking into athletic scholarships. We would love to help you take charge of your college search here at collegeathleticadvisor.com. This is Dave Morris. Click on our website and we would be more than happy to talk to you about how we can empower you to make your future happen.